Hello, in this video I'm going to show you the steps needed to troubleshoot BCTRACKER scanning errors that you may encounter during the usage of this application. Typically when you scan barcodes into the BCTRACKER application, you would follow the sequence that are shown here on the screen. So starting with the first one typically is the employee's ID. So I'm going to go ahead and scan the employee ID into the system. Okay, and if the value of the barcode is valid, matching the value of the prompt, for example the employee's ID, then we'll go to the next prompt, which is scan department. I'm going to go ahead and scan the next department. And if it's not valid, then you can see the warning, invalid, whatever, the department value. So I'm going to try to scan a valid one, and that's fine, which brings us to the next prompt, which is to scan job number. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and scan a valid job number. Then it goes into the next prompt. I'm going to go ahead and put in 100, for example, completed. Okay, maybe 50. Okay, and you can see, depending on what I put in to the prompt, it will bring me to next logical sequence. So in this case, it starts over again. Now, let me go ahead and try to scan again. Okay, and scan the department. If I manually put in something that's invalid, for example, it tells me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and scan in a valid department. Then the next prompt is for us to scan in the job number. Instead of putting a job number, which is typically a number, numeric values in the proper sequence, like job number and then sub number, but I'm gonna intentionally put in some invalid value, like four dots. Okay, and press enter. So you can see that we get an invalid input value. But then, how do we know what value the system scan? You know, if you have like an invalid or a misprinted barcode, for example. Well, in order for us to troubleshoot and identify what scan value stored or submitted to the system, we want to switch to this view, USB controller. Okay, under the USB controller status window, it shows all the previous attempts, all the scans, and all the value submitted to the system for processing. The oldest attempt scan prompt is shown at the top. Excuse me, the newest, the most recent is at the top. The oldest is at the bottom. So looking at this, we can see that the last attempt trying to scan into the job number with a value of 4 dots, which is clearly invalid. Now, if I go ahead and scan a valid job number, there. So it shows the value that the system accepted from either the keyboard or the scanner. So with this tool, with this status log report, we can sort of narrow down as to what value was attempted to submit into the system. So typically you can tell either most of the time would be obvious, because ... are not numeric value for valid values for job number. So in some cases it may not be very obvious. It could be spaces in between the numbers, or space in front and space after the number. So depending on what values are being submitted into the system. So if you're not sure, what you can do is to take a screenshot of this status report and email the information to us, and we can help you identify why the values are invalid. It could be, like I said, a misprinted barcode, or it could be improperly configured barcode reader. Sometimes we need to configure the barcode reader to not to include an extra space in front or after a barcode, or sometimes we need to force the scan to automatically add a carriage return line feed in order for it to submit the data. So in any case, this is the tool that we typically use to help troubleshoot, identify some of the areas, error messages, warnings within the BCTRACKER application.